To make a hollow ball, you're going to need 2 blocks of clay. To begin, you're going to need to round out the corners of the block in the palm of your hand. Once the corners are fairly round, you can kind of squeeze the clay between your hands to push the corners in further. Then, you may roll the ball in between your palms, but you need to be careful not to roll it too much. If you roll it too much, it's going to dry out. You can tell that you're handling the clay too much when you start to see a lot of fine cracks in the clay. If that happens, you can spray some water and work that water into the clay. Next, you're going to make an impression with your thumb. Kind of like those impressions on the cookies that have the Hershey Kisses on top. You know what I'm talking about. Then, you're going to be applying pressure inside the indentation with your thumb and outside with your fingers. This is the pinching part. As you pinch, you will twist the ball of clay between your fingers, and your fingers will be able to feel any thick parts or thin parts. Focus on the thick parts to try to get them thinner. Your goal is to make it about a 1/2 inch thick all the way through. Anything thinner than 1/2 inch is too thin, especially for what we're going to be turning this into. As you repeat the process for the second half, you need to pay careful attention to the size. Check the size periodically to make sure that you don't go over the size of the first one. They should match perfectly. Next, we need to make sure that the 2 halves are combined. Because the clay is very soft, we can simply fuse them together all the way around. However, you don't have to get every little spot, just enough to make sure it's stable. To increase the stability, we're going to roll a thin coil. The coil will be pressed around the seam gently, and then the coil will be fused to both sides. As you fuse to both sides, be careful not to apply too much pressure because the clay is very soft at this point and it could cave in. Continue this process until the seam is no longer visible. Once your seam is smooth, you can start working on the form of the ball. If you notice that there are any lumps that stick out, now is the time to smooth them with a gentle pressure. Push on the ball until you're satisfied with the shape. And now, you have a hollow ball.